Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make fig oatmeal cookies. As you can see here, this is a sandwich cookie, and it takes 2 buttery crisp oatmeal cookies and sandwiches them together with a really nice soft filling made of dried figs. Now this makes only about 10 or 12 sandwich cookies, so if you would like a larger batch, just double the recipe. Now I'm going to make this in my food processor. You can just as easily do this by hand. So the first thing we're going to do is just put all of our dry ingredients into the food processor. So you will need 3/4 of a cup, which is 95 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. And to that, add a 1/2 cup, 105 grams of packed light brown sugar. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I like to use a kosher salt. And then I always like my oatmeal cookies to have a little bit of touch of cinnamon flavor. So I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. If you prefer your oatmeal cookies not to have a cinnamon flavor, just leave that out. And then I'm just going to process this until everything's combined. Okay, next we're going to add 1/2 cup, 113 grams of cold butter. I'm using unsalted here. You could use salted if you want. And then just cut it into small cubes. Now, if you're doing this by hand, you want to cut the butter into the flour mixture. A lot of times I use this pastry blender, but you could use 2 knives or you could just use your fingertips. And what you want to do is mix it until the batter looks like coarse crumbs. So if you're using a food processor, just pulse it. Nice. Check. So this is what you're looking for. You can just see the little bits of butter in the batter. And then, of course, we need rolled oats. I like to use the old-fashioned rolled oats because the texture is a little thicker and I think the flavor is a little better. But of course, if you only have instant quick cooking, you could use those. And you will need 1 cup, which is 90 grams of the rolled oats. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of milk. You can use like whole milk, or I'm using like a 2% reduced fat, along with just a 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Now you may notice there is no egg in this batter. It's more like a shortbread cookie, but a little more softer because we're adding the milk. And then I'm just going to pulse this until it starts to clump together, the batter. Okay, that looks good. Whoop. So, as you can see, this is a really easy batter to make, especially if you use a food processor. But, you know, it doesn't take much longer to do it by hand. So now, this is, like I said, a soft batter. We are making cutout cookies. So, of course, we need to chill this before we cut them out. But to speed up the process, I mean, normally what you would do is just kind of put the batter in a ball, wrap it in plastic wrap, and put it in the refrigerator until it's chilled. I want to kind of speed this process up a little. So what I'm going to do is roll my batter before I chill it. And I don't want to do this on the counter because then because it's soft, I would have to add a lot of flour, and then of course your cookies end up being a little tougher. So what we're going to do is roll it between 2 sheets of parchment paper. If you don't have parchment, you could use wax paper. That's just as good. So just put it like that, and then just take your rolling pin and just roll it. You want it to somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch, pretty thin, which is about 1/2 centimeter. Just roll it out. You want to try to make it even thickness. And what you do is just kind of, if you take your hand and just put it over the top, you can kind of tell that it's even or not. And what you might want to do periodically, because sometimes your paper will get wrinkles in it, so just flip it over, and if there is a little wrinkles, just peel the paper back so it's nice and smooth. You can really do this with any type of dough that you need to chill and then roll out, is do it between the parchment paper. Pretty quick and easy way to do it. So now that feels about right. So just run your hand, and I can kind of tell whether there's places where, like right here, I need to roll it just a bit. So we're done. So now just take your baking sheet, slip it on there like that, and then we need to chill that. You want to chill till it's like hard almost. So in the refrigerator, that will take probably 45 minutes to an hour. You could even do it the day before. Or if you want to make this really quick, you could, if you had room, you could put the whole thing in your freezer. And it would take maybe at the most 15 to 30 minutes to get it really cold if you really want to speed up the process. So now our batter has really chilled, so I'm just going to take it off of the baking sheet and then just peel back the top sheet, parchment paper, and then with a round cookie cutter, really use any shape. I'm making them about just a little over 2 inches, which is about 5 centimeters. Again, you can make smaller, bigger, whatever you want. And then just cut out your, as you can see, because the dough is really cold, it makes it really easy to cut out your cookies. Now, you will need a parchment baking sheet lined with a piece of parchment paper, or you could just lightly butter or spray with a nonstick spray, and just cut out your cookies. And space them a couple inches, about 5 centimeters apart. You see, this makes it really easy to cut these out. Okay, so I have about 12, that's good. So I want to make sure that these stay the same shape, so that they don't spread as they bake, because we're sandwiching them together, so we want all the cookies the same size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this back into the refrigerator while I'm preheating the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius, and you want the rack in the center position. And so that'd be about 10-15 minutes to really chill this again. And while I do that, what I'm going to do is gather up all my scraps, and again, roll the dough between 2 sheets of parchment paper. And you probably will have to chill this again before you cut out the cookies, just to make sure it's really cold. So now we're ready to bake our cookies. I like to bake these until they're quite crisp. And the reason I do that is because once we sandwich them together with the filling, they will soften. So between 12 and 14 minutes, or until the outside edges of the cookies become golden brown. Okay, our oatmeal cookies are done. As you can see, they're just starting like a nice golden brown around the edges. So now, I'm just going to let those cool completely, and while I make the fig filling. Actually, you could be baking your second sheet of cookies at the same time as well. So for the filling, we need dried figs. This is a dried fig. And we're going to coarsely chop them. Of course, dried figs have this little stem piece, and it's quite hard. So what we want to do is cut that off. And then I'll just cut them into, about that size. You will need 1 cup, which is 150 grams of dried figs. And just put that in a medium saucepan, because we're going to have to soften them, because while they are soft, we want really soft. And then we're going to add just a little sugar, 3 tablespoons, 35 grams of granulated white sugar. I like to flavor the figs with just a little bit of either lemon zest or orange zest is very nice as well. That is the outer skin of either a lemon or an orange. And just grate that. Try not to get the white underneath, because that's kind of bitter. I mean, if you want more of a lemon flavor, you could probably put about 1 teaspoon instead of a half a teaspoon. It's really a matter of taste. It looks good. And then we need some liquid. I'm using 2/3 of a cup, 160 milliliters of just water. Now, if you wanted, because I really like just to taste the figs in my filling. If you would like to give it more flavor, you could use, instead of water, you could use like apple juice. You could use like tea, a dark tea that is very nice as well, or even orange juice. So I'm going to put this over medium heat. And what we're going to do, just give it a quick stir, is just bring it up to a simmer. And once it's that point, just reduce your heat a bit, and we're just going to cook these for maybe 10-15 minutes, just until the figs get really soft and they've absorbed most of the liquid. I like to leave a little bit of the liquid, so when we puree them, the filling's still quite moist. Okay, so figs, when I press them, they're nice and soft, and there's just a little liquid left. So I'm just going to remove them from the heat, and I'm just, so you can see the filling, I'm just going to transfer it to a bowl here. So this is what we have. There's still a little juice at the bottom, but they're really nice and soft. So what I'm going to do is just let this sit for, maybe 5-10 minutes, just to cool them off a little, and then we're going to puree them. So now we're going to puree our filling. So I'm going to put it in my food processor. If you didn't have a food processor, you could just really give it a real good stir with a spoon or fork. Just want it to kind of mush it all so it's like a nice smooth filling. And also, I didn't mention, if you wanted to, you could add like maybe 1/4 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract if you want to flavor your filling just a little more. So now I'm just going to pulse it until it's nice and smooth. Let's check it. Now, if you found it's too thick, you could just add either like a little water or orange juice, apple juice, something like that. You want to be able, you want it the consistency that you can spread it on the cookie. So, okay, looks good. Let's transfer it. So this is what you're looking for, as you can see. It's thick, but not too thick, or not too thin. Whoop, messy there. So there we go. So now to sandwich the cookies together. Now I will say that this is a really good cookie on its own. It's nice and crisp. so buttery crisp with this really nice oat flavor. It's really good on its own, or sometimes I like to dip like half of the cookie in melted chocolate. And the cookies themselves, like this, will last, you probably store them for at least a week or freeze them. But since we're making a sandwich cookie today, just take maybe about a tablespoon of filling and on the flat side, underside of your cookie. And you really, if you like lots of filling, be as generous as you want. And just spread it out. And then just sandwich it together like that. Now, when you make these the first day, the cookies will be quite crisp, and the flavor of the cookie and the filling will be quite separate. But once you store these overnight, the filling, the moist filling kind of permeates the cookie and makes it nice and soft. And so the flavors kind of really blend so they become one. But either way, they're really good. You can store these at room temperature probably at least 5 days. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.